Welcome. If you're learning English and you want to speak confidently, you're in the right place. Watch this video and try to understand how they are speaking.
You know, when you find yourself trapped in one of those conversations that just feels exactly like a broken record?
Oh, absolutely. It's the worst.
Right. Like you run into an acquaintance, you ask how their week is going, they say fine.
And then they ask how your week is going, and you say, fine.
Exactly. And suddenly you are both just standing there in this completely uninspiring, repetitive loop. I mean, you can almost see the limited dialogue options floating in front of you.
Yeah, like you're stuck in a really boring video game or something.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
perfectly functional, politely executed, but just entirely lifeless.
It is a universally agonizing experience. We just kind of slip into this social autopilot, basically just waiting for an acceptable moment to walk away.
And that creeping dread of a flatlining conversation is exactly what we are rescuing you from today.
Hopefully.
We are. Because today's deep dive is into this really fascinating linguistics document. It's essentially a concise instructional guide, originally designed as a brief tutorial to help language learners sustain dynamic English conversations.
But the thing is, when you actually read it, you realize this isn't just an ESL manual.
Not at all. It holds the secret to curing literally everyone's bad small talk. So our mission today is to steal this guide's best tricks. We're going to look at its use of a scripted example to bypass that uninspiring or repetitive dialogue and, completely refine your natural communication style.
Because the reality is, whether it's your first language or your fifth, informal communication is a skill. It's not just an innate talent.
Right.
And this material functions as a highly practical tool. It's really about moving away from that stagnant default script we all casually fall back on and transitioning to a streamlined framework that actually helps build real social rapport.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand how to fix the problem, we first have to understand why it happens in the first place.
Makes sense.
So before we get to the actual solutions this concise instructional guide offers, let's look at the mechanics of these stagnant exchanges. I was thinking about this earlier, and it feels a lot like a car stuck in the mud.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right, like you and the person you're talking to are both hitting the gas, the wheels are spinning, you're making a lot of conversational noise, but the interaction isn't actually moving forward. You're literally just digging a deeper rut.
The visual of expending all that energy but gaining absolutely no traction is spot on. And the source text makes a deliberate point to highlight this exact phenomenon.
It does.
It focuses on how easily informal spoken exchanges devolve into these loops if there isn't a conscious, deliberate effort to bypass them.
It's that classic crazy weather we're having, followed by, crazy, followed by just dead air.
But that's the thing. If informal communication is something we do every single day, why do we so easily fall into these stagnant, repetitive traps in English dialogue? Like, why are our brains letting us get stuck in the mud?
Well, we obviously can't invent a new conversational paradigm every time we buy a coffee or wait for an elevator.
Right, that would be exhausting.
Exactly. We can't do it. And that's precisely why our brains rely on heuristics, which are essentially just mental shortcuts.
Okay, mental shortcut. Yeah, to really understand the why, you have to look at cognitive load. Every time you enter a social interaction, your brain is working incredibly hard behind the scenes.
Like doing background processing.
Tons of it. It's filtering memories to decide what to share. It's assessing your relationship with the other person to determine the appropriate level of disclosure.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's formulating syntax, and it's constantly monitoring the other person's body language and tone for feedback.
So just asking, how was your day, is actually launching a massive background process in the brain.
An exhausting one.
Yeah.
If every single minor interaction required us to invent a brand new, highly engaging conversational path from scratch, the cognitive load would just be unsustainable.
We would be mentally drained before we even started our workday.
Precisely. So, evolutionary biology kicks in. We default to established, socially safe scripts.
Right.
Say, I'm fine, how are you? Is safe.
Right.
It signals that you are not a threat. And most importantly, it requires almost zero mental heavy lifting.
So it's essentially a survival mechanism. We are running on low power mode to preserve our social battery life for when it actually matters.
That's a great way to think about it. Small talk often starts as a baseline threat assessment tool. It's actually designed to be boring and predictable.
But the downside of constantly running on low power mode is that we sacrifice any real possibility of connection.
Yes.
The text points out that to bypass uninspiring or repetitive dialogue, we actually have to interrupt that automatic, lazy cognitive process. We have to purposefully choose a different path.
Which is incredibly hard to do on the fly.
Exactly. If our brains are designed to be lazy to save energy, how do we hack that? And I guess that brings us to the core method of this guide.
It does. To help us interrupt that autopilot, the document uses what it calls a scripted example between two people.
Right. It lays out the conversation step by step to show exactly how to break the cycle.
Yeah, it acts as this streamlined framework, literally giving you pre-planned lines to use.
And I know what people are thinking right now.
What's fascinating here is the paradox at the very heart of this guide.
Yes, the paradox.
It is explicitly using a highly rigid, scripted framework to ultimately teach a natural communication style.
Yeah.
On the surface, proposing that you should memorize a script to sound more natural sounds like a complete contradiction.
Well, let me push back on that for a second, because a contradiction is exactly what it sounds like. We've all interacted with someone who, sounds like they're reading off a teleprompter or reciting a customer service script.
Oh, for sure.
So can studying a scripted scenario really help you refine a natural communication style? Doesn't relying on a script run the massive risk of making you sound robotic during an actual informal exchange?
Well, if you approach the script as a rigid law, yes, you will absolutely sound like an automated phone menu.
Right. Press 1 for small talk.
Exactly. But that's not how this practical tool is meant to be utilized. Think of it like learning scales on a piano. Playing a scale isn't making music. It's repetitive, it's scripted, it's mathematical. But by practicing and internalizing those scales, your fingers learn the underlying structure of the instrument.
Wait, I have to stop you there. A piano scale is played alone in a room. The piano doesn't suddenly change into a trumpet halfway through.
That's true.
In an informal conversation, the other person is an absolute wild card. If I have a script and the other person goes totally off topic or just gives a one-word answer, my script is entirely useless.
Right.
So how does a script survive contact with an unpredictable human?
That is a brilliant distinction, and it strikes at the exact limitation of a rigid script, which is why this concise instructional guide doesn't teach you lines for a play.
Okay, what does it teach them?
It teaches you conversational modules and pivots. The scripted example isn't a teleprompter, it's a structural map. It demonstrates where the conversational pivots actually need to happen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it shows you the exact moment where the car usually gets stuck in the mud, and it provides the specific steering maneuver to get you out of the rut and onto solid ground.
So the script is essentially the training wheels. You're learning the underlying rhythm of a dynamic conversation.
Yes.
You learn the give and take, the places to pause, the places to dig deeper. And once that rhythm becomes muscle memory, you don't have to think about the mechanics anymore. You just balance naturally.
Exactly. You shift your mental energy from, what do I say next, to actually listening to the person in front of you.
So let's look at the actual steering maneuver. The critique of most communication advice is that it's too vague, like be a better listener or show interest.
Which is incredibly hard to quantify.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This guide doesn't do vague. It equips individuals with particular expressions and specific phrases that have one primary driving purpose.
To convey genuine warmth and curiosity toward the speaking partner.
Yes, the focus on warmth and curiosity is so heavily emphasized. It's a highly intentional shift away from mere information exchange, from data transfer to actual human interaction.
Right, because data transfer is boring.
Let's make this concrete for the listener because reading about these particular expressions completely changed my view on this. We aren't talking about wild, eccentric conversation starter.
No, not at all.
The document gives very specific before and after examples. Let's actually run a scenario based on the guide's framework. Let's do the bad, low power mode version first.
All right, I'm ready. Hey, how was your weekend?
It was fine. Yours.
Good, just relaxed.
And scene.
Yep, the car is officially in the mud.
Now let's look at the exact specific phrases the guide provides to inject that warmth and curiosity. Instead of the default, the guide suggests starting with something like, what was the highlight of your week? Or, what was the best part of your weekend?
Let's run that version. Hey, what was the highlight of your weekend?
Oh, it was pretty quiet, but I finally finished that book I was reading.
And here is where the guide introduces a crucial pivot phrase. Instead of just saying cool or nice, the guide suggests an expression of specific curiosity like, that's right, you mentioned that sci-fi novel last time. What surprised you the most about the ending?
See a difference. As the person answering, suddenly I don't feel like I'm just filling dead air. I feel like you actually remembered something about me.
It completely changes the tone.
It reminds me of seasoning in a recipe. If you just boil a chicken breast, you have chicken.
Right, very bland chicken.
Exactly. It's functional, it provides calories, it does the job. That's the basic, how are you, I'm fine conversation. But these specific phrases...
Like, what surprised you?
Yeah, or tell me more about how you handled that. They act like throwing in garlic and rosemary. Suddenly the conversation isn't just functional. The seasoning provides the actual flavor that creates the social rapport.
The seasoning analogy is perfect because the text argues that these particular expressions act as the vital bridge between a sterile, scripted tool and a genuine emotional connection.
A bridge, I like that.
Because when you look at the mechanics of a dull exchange, it usually fails because neither party feels seen or valued. It's purely transactional.
Like ordering a sandwich at a deli counter. I'll have the turkey. Okay, that's $5. End of interaction.
Exactly. But by utilizing these very specific expressions, you are sending a powerful meta message. You aren't just asking a question. You are telling the other person, I am actively engaged with you right now. I find your perspective valuable.
And the emotional payload of that meta message really cannot be overstated.
Oh, it's massive. When we use phrases like, I've never thought about it that way, tell me more, or that sounds incredibly frustrating, how did you navigate that? We are literally validating the other person's experience.
And the text connects these specific phrases directly to the development of social rapport.
It does. It's not just about keeping the conversation going to avoid awkward silence. It's about making the conversation actually matter to both people in that moment.
Think about it from the listener's perspective. When someone actually uses one of those phrases on you...
Oh yeah, you feel it.
Right. When they ask a specific follow-up question that proves they were actively listening to your previous sentence, you physically feel different. Your posture changes, your guard drops, you probably speak a little more animatedly.
The entire dynamic of the interaction shifts immediately just from a single well-placed phrase.
It really does.
And the scripted examples in this tutorial provide the specific phrasing to trigger that exact dynamic shift in the real world. It basically gives learners the vocabulary of empathy.
The vocabulary of empathy, I love that.
And let's be honest, that vocabulary can sometimes be the hardest thing to access in the spur of the moment,
Yeah.
especially if English isn't your first language or if you're just experiencing a baseline level of social anxiety.
Definitely.
The guide removed the stressful guesswork of how to sound warm so you can focus your cognitive resources on actually being warm.
Let's bring all these puzzle pieces together and apply them to the real world, because the ultimate goal outlined in the tutorial is improving overall conversational flow. It bills itself as a practical resource for navigating the subtle complexities and nuances of informal spoken exchanges.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, mastering these seemingly small nuances, these little strategic expressions of curiosity, it drastically alters how you move through the world.
How so?
Well, flow isn't just about speaking smoothly or eliminating pauses. True flow is about the natural back and forth. When you inject a scripted pivot of curiosity into an exchange, you invite the other person to expand on their thoughts.
And they usually will.
Exactly. Which, in turn, gives you more material to work with.
Mm-hmm.
That naturally propels the conversation forward without it ever feeling like an interrogation.
Okay, let's put the listener right in the middle of this. Think about your next big networking event, or even just a mundane chat by the water cooler at the office.
Sure.
How does having a quick reference tool actually help someone navigate those subtle complexities in real time when informal conversations move so unpredictably? Right, because as we discussed earlier, you can't exactly call a timeout, pull this concise instructional guide out of your pocket, and flip to chapter 3 when someone hits you with a weird comment.
No, you definitely can't do that. That sheer unpredictability is the ultimate challenge of informal communication. But this is exactly where internalizing a streamlined framework becomes crucial.
Because it's internal.
Yes, you aren't checking a manual in real time.
Yeah.
You have internalized a series of conversational reflexes. Think of it like defensive driving.
Defensive driving, I like that.
Yeah, you don't have to consciously think about the physics of checking your mirrors or turning the steering wheel. You just execute the maneuver when someone swerves into your lane.
Exactly, you just react.
Right. You know the common hazards on the conversational road? The dead-end answers, the awkward silences, the abrupt subject changes?
We've all hit those potholes.
We all have. But by studying these scripted scenarios, this brief tutorial has provided you with the mental reflexes to handle those hazards gracefully.
So when the conversation starts to stall and you feel the wheels slipping into the mud, you don't panic.
You don't. You deploy one of those particular expressions. You say, you mentioned X earlier, and I've been wondering.
Ah, right. It buys you time.
It buys time, it flatters your partner by showing you are actually listening, and it navigates you through the complexity.
So it's really about having a versatile, reliable toolkit to respond constructively to whatever they do say.
Precisely.
Instead of freezing up when the conversation inevitably goes off script, you realize that you actually have the tools to write a brand new script together, collaboratively, in real time.
Which is the definition of dynamic English conversation.
Exactly. You've got the garlic and rosemary ready to go in your pantry no matter what random ingredients they happen to hand you.
You shift from being a passive victim of a stagnant exchange, just waiting for the interaction to end, to an active participant in shaping the flow.
It gives you control.
The framework gives you the confidence to lead the interaction somewhere meaningful.
Mm.
And honestly, that confidence alone often entirely changes the energy you bring to the dialogue.
Wow. This has been such an insightful look at the mechanics of how we actually talk to each other.
It's been fun to break it down.
We started by recognizing that awful, sinking feeling of stagnant dialogue, exploring how our brains naturally default to low power mode to save energy.
Gotta love those heuristics.
We looked at how utilizing a structured, scripted framework, which seems counterintuitive at first, can actually be the very thing that sets us free from sounding robotic. Much like mastering scales on a piano allows you to play jazz.
Right.
We explored the secret seasoning, those specific literal phrases designed to project genuine warmth and curiosity, like asking what surprised someone or validating their frustration.
The garlic and rosemary.
The garlic and rosemary. And we saw how internalizing all of this transforms a quick reference tool into muscle memory, allowing us to confidently master the unpredictable flow of everyday informal chats. So what does this all mean?
That's the big question.
For you listening right now, it means that being a quote-unquote good conversationalist isn't just some magical innate charisma you are either born with or you aren't.
Not at all.
This text proves it is a highly structural, learnable skill. This isn't just about learning the rules of English dialogue. It is a highly practical tool for refining your natural communication style in literally any social interaction you face today, tomorrow, or next week.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to steer the car out of the mud just by choosing the right words.
This raises an important question, though.
Mm-hmm.
One that really lingers when you zoom out and think about the core underlying message of this instructional guide.
Okay, what is it?
Well, we've just spent this time discussing how a simple, highly structured, scripted example can successfully teach us how to simulate genuine warmth and trigger a very real emotional connection. If that's true, what does that say about the nature of human interaction itself? Are our most natural, fluid, and spontaneous social bonds actually just the result of well-practiced, unwritten scripts that we've all silently agreed upon?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought to leave on. That completely changes how I'm going to look at my next chat at the coffee shop. Are we all just brilliantly executing our scales?
Believe you we are.
Well, keep that in mind next time you find yourself trying to push that car out of the conversational mud. Catch you on the next deep dive.